Hi everyone, Juliet here. Welcome to day 4 of our holiday bead along. Woo! It's the last day. We're gonna finally finish our little votive holder. It's so exciting. Okay, so hopefully your joining went okay yesterday and you've got a little ring that looks like this, okay? With your joins all completed, and one side should have little rondelles sticking out on the top like this, okay? The other side does not, okay? And hopefully you have your base from day 2. We will be joining that on as well today. So, all right, you're only going to need your rondelles, your main color of 11O, and your 15Os today. So, we're getting through the beads. All right, get yourself, again, as long of a piece of thread as you can kind of deal with, you know, a wingspan or whatever. And we're going to enter in, so first of all, we're gonna work on the bottom and we're gonna join our base on. So we're gonna wanna flip over our piece so that our rondelles are down there and we're working on the side that doesn't have the rondelles yet, okay? And you're going to just enter in to from somewhere. I like to kind of enter in from where the 3mm is before one of our raw units, and you guys are very au fait with the raw units because we've been doing a lot of work with them. So you're going to enter in from the left to the right is what I'm doing, and the way that the PDF instructions have it, okay? So enter in from the left to get over to this seed bead at the top of our raw unit there. So yeah, I just start from like the 3mm and sew along. I just find that easiest, okay? And remember, at this point, if you pull too tight, you're going to just pull your tail straight on out. So just be careful for the next couple of steps until we're kind of established in there, okay? And at the end, you'll be able to weave that tail in, okay? All right, you're going to pick up 4 of your 11O seed beads. And we're coming out on the right, so we're going to enter into the left of the same bead again. So just that one 11O that's at the top of our raw unit, okay? And then you'll have a little loop like this, and you kind of want to try and push it, if you can, behind the 15Os. I know it's a little tricky at this point, but I mean, even if it doesn't want to go behind the 15Os, it's going to eventually. So don't stress too much if you're struggling. Okay, we're gonna sew. Just hold your tail so you know you're not gonna pull the whole thing out. Okay, and go up through that very first 11O again that we just added on that ring. Okay, I'm gonna try and get mine behind, just because it'll be easier for you guys to see. Okay, here we go. You're going to pick up one 11O, you're going to move through the next bead. You're going to pick up a second 11O, you're going to move through the next bead. And you're going to pick up one more 11O, you're going to move through the 4th bead. And you can go ahead and move forward into, if you can get through it, that 11O on the raw unit as well, okay? The same one that we started in. Okay, so you should now have a kind of diamond shape like this, all right? And if it hasn't pushed back yet, you can kind of flatten it back, all right? Then we're gonna build the same little unit with our rondelle that we did yesterday. So you're going to sew forward through the right hand bead on our raw unit. So just sew towards yourself. You're going to pick up a 15 a rondelle, and a 15. Okay, and you're going to sew back through the left hand side of that raw unit. You're going to pick up one more 15-0, and we're on the left, so we have to sew left to right through the rondelle. We're going to pick up one more 15-0, and we're going to sew forward through that 11-0 that is on the raw unit on the right hand side. Okay, so there it is right there. Okay, so just sew forward through that, give it all a little pull. So we now have our rondelle sitting up. Okay, and then we're going to add our two little accent 11-0s or 15-0s at the front. So just go ahead, sew through right to left, and then on the left one you're going to sew through that 11-0 on the base right there on the left hand side on the raw unit. This is the same as what we did yesterday, this bit. Okay, we just are adding the diamond beforehand. Okay, and then you're going to move forward until you get over. So we're going to sew forward through all of this until we get over to the next raw unit over here. And to do that, I'm just going to show you one area because there's one thing that's a little different. So go ahead, go through that base on the raw first of all, and then we start going up through those 15-0s. And just take your time here. It's very easy to get your threads stuck where you don't actually want it stuck, okay? So just be careful and keep an eye on your thread because it can get stuck between 15-0s and you don't even notice, okay? All right, when you get to the 3mm here, what we're going to do is we're going to go up the 11 and the first 15-0, and then just like my thread wants to do, I'm not going into the second 15-0 on that little point. I'm just going from the first one straight up into our bridge to get across the bridge, okay? And that's also going to help tighten everything up a little bit, which is useful, okay? So then you're going through your rondelle, your two, and then when you get to the other side, you're just going through that 1 15-0 and then into the 11 before the 3mm, okay? So do that to get over to your next unit. Then you're going to build your diamond, then you're going to add your picot, and then you're going to go over to the next. And when you get to the fourth one, I will come back. Okay, so I just added this on and finished off the front on this unit. I'm coming out the side, so I'm just going to enter into the base bead of that raw unit one more time, and after that you'll be happy to hear we don't have to go into these beads anymore because I'm honestly not sure we could even get through them if we tried. All right, let me see if I can get in here. Okay, success. I made it through. So now we're going to go up through our diamond until we get up to our point right here. So you're just going to follow those beads. So you don't need to move forward, or you can just start this from your last, when you do your last diamond, okay? All right, so here we are. So when you're coming out from your point, you're going to pick up your base and you're going to flip it over so that it's upside down, kind of like a little basket, okay? And on the corner here, we're just going to sew through hold the corner kind of facing towards you. You're going to sew through this whole side on the bottom here. So just go through all of those beads until you come out on the other side. And I've missed the end bead. You should have an A color, your main color, on the end of each side. There we go. So you should start and end with one of your A colors, okay? So you're going to sew through all of those. And you're just going to pull that, okay? So now you're going to look at your next diamond here on the next corner over where you're kind of coming out from, okay? You're going to sew through the diamond, and you don't have to go into that bead on the raw unit. You can skip that, okay? So you're gonna go through the one before the raw unit. I mean, if you want to try and get through it, you can, but it's kind of difficult. So I usually just skip it, okay? And then go ahead, sew all the way around the diamond and back into the point. Give it all a tug, okay? And then you're going to have to sew all the way along the next side and join onto this corner, sew it along the next side, join onto the next corner, and then you're going to have to sew back to the first corner and enter in to your diamond again. So let me get over to the where I'm joining the last, when I'm going back to my last corner, the first corner that is. Okay, I'm gonna do that off screen because it's quite fiddly and there may be some swearing, but anyway, good luck with that and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I'm on my fourth corner that I'm joining, and remember you do have to sew through the point before you sew through the side, okay? Make sure that you are going into that point bead because that is kind of the corner of your base. So when you sew through the side, you're gonna have to make sure that both times you're going into that that corner, okay? And so I'm back to where I started from, and when I started, I have to finish this unit by sewing through that point because we've only sewed through it like on one side, okay? And around the diamond again. And because we came through the 11-0 to get over here, I would really suggest that you sew around this diamond and sew down to the next corner so that we can get out of the base and move up. So the base is not fully attached, okay? This is our preliminary attachment. We have another step to do in a minute. We're going to attach up here as well, okay? So don't worry if it feels like a little bit loose or whatever, okay? So once you get back to that starting corner where you started, remember, just sew around the diamond. You can skip the one on the right angle weave unit and just sew down to the next one because we are going to have to go into the right angle weave unit, and that bead probably has enough thread in it right now anyway. So all right, I'll see you in a second. I'm just going to sew my way over there. Okay, so when you move down and you're at the one after the one where you started from, you can go ahead, sew through the diamond itself, and you're going to have to sew into that one bead on that raw unit that everything is sewing into. So, and this is the last time we're going to use that bead. So, all right. Let's get through there. I'm using a size 10 beading needle and I'm able to get through. So if you're struggling, you can always step down to a smaller needle, but you should be able to get through fine, okay? Once you're coming out there, we can just step straight up through that rear 15 O's. So there's the two 15 O's. I'm just going to step up through that one, okay? And I'm going to come out from the crystal rondelle. Okay, so we're now going to begin to embellish our edges a little bit better, okay? And then we're going to join the top of our base. So here we're going to pick up an 11-0, a 15-0, an 11-0, a 15-0, and an 11-0, and a rondelle. So 11, 15, 11, 15, 11, rondelle, and then 11, 15, 11, 15, and 11. So you basically have, you starting with an 11, you're ending with an 11, and it's alternating, and in the middle you have a rondelle, okay? We're going to sew straight from this rondelle up on the foot here, down to the next rondelle that is on our joining section that we did yesterday, okay? So we're going to have a line like this, okay? You're going to do the same thing again going up to the next one. So 11, 15, 11, 15, 11. Rondelle. And then again, 11, 15, 11, 15, 11. Okay, and then again, we're just going straight through the rondelle here, okay? You're going to do that all the way around, going up and down. So down to here, so up to here. Okay, so all the way around, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I'm just coming back to where I started from. I'm sewing through the rondelle and through the first 11-0 after the rondelle, okay? And then we're going to go through all of this again, but this time, everywhere there's a 15, we're going to skip the 15 and we're going to sew into the next 11. So we're kind of adding 1 15. We're kind of doing peyote here, okay? So everywhere there's a 15, you're going to add another 15, and so they will sit side by side like this. So when you get to the area where there's the rondelle, you're just sewing through the 11, the rondelle, and the 11. So we're just adding extra 15s along the way anywhere we have a 15-0. So you're going to go all the way around doing that. So I will do that and I'll come back in a second. Okay, so if you weren't cursing me while you were joining on the base, you probably are now. Anyway, I made it all the way around and I'm adding my very last 15-0 above that 15-0. I'm going through the last 11 and into my starting rondelle. Okay, so we're back to where we started, and if you're it is good if you can try and keep your lines straight. I mean, I know they will turn a little bit, but try and keep them as straight together as you can, okay? It just does help on this next round to know which bead you're going into. All right, so now we're going to move forward through the 11 after our rondelle and step up into that first 15. Let's see if I can get in here. Really, when you're finishing that round, if you can step up through your rondelle and the 11 into that first 15, it helps. Okay, so we're coming out from our 15-0. We're going to pick up 2 15-0s. So into the next 15-0. Okay, you're going to pick up 3 11-0s. And you're going to skip over the 11, the rondelle, the 11, and you're going to sew into the next 15-0. Okay, so like this. All right, you're going to pick up 2 15-0s. So into the next 15-0. And just like we did with this rondelle here, we're going to do the same thing. I got to try and work out. I think this is twisting forward. I think it's supposed to be like that. Okay, so again, when we have the rondelle, we're skipping over the 11s and the rondelle, and we're going straight up into the next 15. Then you're going to pick up 2 15s. So anywhere you have a 15, you're always picking up 2 15s. And anywhere you have a rondelle, you're picking up 3 11-0s. But there is one area where it's a tiny bit different, which we are just coming up to. Okay, so let me pick up my next 2 15s. When you get to the rondelle that is above your pearl section here, okay, you're going to actually enter into the 11-0. So when you're adding those 2 15s, also go through the 11-0, and then you're going to pick up your 3 11s. And then you're going to enter into the 11 and step up into the 15, okay? That's the place that's different, is above here. You have to go into the 11s. Everywhere else, you're skipping the 11s. So you're just going from 15-0 to the next 15-0, okay? So you're going to continue doing this all the way around. Everywhere there's a 15-0, you're adding 2 15s, and everywhere else you're adding 3 11s, except for right here where you're going down into the 11, then adding, and then going through the 11 and up, okay? All right, so you're going to complete that round and then come back. Okay, so I'm back to the beginning. I just have to add the 3 going over that starting rondelle right there, okay? And remember at the bit with the pearls, you have to sew into the 11-0. Okay, we have to make our way over to the next point, and this is how we're going to travel. So you're going to go up and down through the rows that we just added to get over there. So you'll be going over 4 15-0s and then 3 11-0s. And then 4 15-0s. And 3 11-0s. And just keep going like that until you get over to that next point. So yes, you do have to sew into the kind of lower, not the lowest one, but the sort of lower 15-0, okay? So you should be going through 4 15-0s, 3 11s. And when you get right before the point here, okay, you come out from your 15-0s, and here you're not going to, before we went through the 11, we're not going to, we're just going to go straight up, okay? So when you're doing your very last round, that's a reinforcing round, that's what you do. You go around one time more, but you, at that point where we went into the 11s, you skip the 11s, and that just helps reinforce everything. Okay, but right now we're going to join the rest of our base on to our candle. Okay, so sorry, I had to make sure I was telling you right. You're going to pick up 4 of your 11s, okay? You're going to sew again through the same bead that we're exiting from. You're going to sew up through the first bead of the 4 that you just added, that little loop, okay? And you're going to pick up one bead, you're going to sew into the second bead of that loop. Okay, so we're kind of making a diamond like we did before, but we're only going to do half of it right now. So you can pick up one more bead, and then on our corner raw unit right here, why is this not focusing? Focus right there, thank you. Okay, on our corner raw unit right here, we're going to sew into that first right hand bead. Okay, so you can see we're kind of building our diamond on the side there. Okay, then you're going to go ahead and pass into the next bead as well, the next 11-0. On the wall, and then you're going to pass forward into the right angle weave unit on your corner there. Okay, then you're going to pick up an 11-0. You're going to go through the next bead on our right angle weave unit. You're going to pass down through the next bead on the wall here. Okay, and through the next bead. So we've created kind of a diamond now on that corner as well, as you can see. Okay, you're going to have to go out through the point of that diamond again. Then you're going to sew down through the next bead. You're going to pick up one bead, and you're going to sew into the next bead and the bead that we started in. Okay, so this is now joined on. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go around, join all of those. You're probably going to have to add more thread at some point. Okay, so go around and join, and remember when you get to right before and right after, so like here, we're not going into that 11-0 that's down below. We're just going straight from the third 11-0 straight up into our 15-0s. Okay, you do still have to go through all 4 15-0s though. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then when I have got back to here, we have another step to do, so I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, okay, so I had to add some extra thread on. I am finishing joining on my fourth corner, adding my very last bead on the diamond here, and because I had to join thread, I actually did sew down here, but if you need to, sew up to the next corner. Okay, if you need to do that. And then what you're going to do when you get to the next corner is you're going to sew forward through your diamond. Okay, you're going to get up to the point of your base unit, and you're probably thinking, oh Jules, this looks terrible, which kind of it does right now. Okay, we're gonna sew all the way along to the edge and all the way along and exit from this bead on the next diamond over. Okay, so go ahead and sew all through that edge. Okay, and through the next 2 beads on that little diamond right there. Okay, and then we're going to pick up one of our rondelles. We're going to sew down into, so we have 3 beads right here. Okay, you're going to sew down into the bead that's on the side where you're sewing your rondelle in. Okay, so here like this. Okay, and then you're going to sew straight through the rondelle that's already here. going to pick up one more rondelle. Sorry, no, you're not. You're going to sew forward through the bead, like the second bead right there, okay? And then you're going to pick up a rondelle and you're going to sew forward through the diamond. So these are going to be kind of like little extra foot supports. I don't know why I have so much thread there. They should kind of smush in a little bit in a second. Okay, so once you've got that, you're going to sew down the next side. You're going to repeat. So you're going to add a rondelle. You're going to sew into this bead right here. Go through this rondelle, sew through this bead, add your other rondelle, and then sew all the way along, okay? So you're going to do that, and that's going to finish off your base. And then we need to deal with the top layer, okay? So I'm going to finish that really quickly, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so once you've finished adding those rondelles on the corner there, you can, if you feel like it, you can run around your square again and go ahead and tie off your threads. Don't worry if it like bends in a little. It's not really, it's on the bottom, like nobody's gonna notice, you know. This helps it to stand up is what it's doing. Okay, so anyway, okay, so it should look like this more or less on the bottom, okay? And once you've done that, you're ready to begin your top edge. And the good news with the top edge is that it's basically exactly the same as the base. So you're just going to get a new piece of thread and go through one of the rondelles on the peak. You're going to pick up your 11 beads, which were your 11, 15, 11, 15, 11, your rondelle, and the same again, 11, 15, 11, you're going to go down here, up here, down there, okay, and then you're going to go around, add your extra row of 15 O's above the 15s that are already there, just like we did here, and then you're going to go and add your 2 15s and your 3 above the rondelles, okay? So, and then I highly recommend you do one extra pass where at the bit above the pearl, so remember the first time you go, you're not entering into the 11 that's here. You're sorry, you are entering into the 11 when you do it the first time, and then the second time just skip that 11 and reinforce, and it'll kind of tighten everything up for you. But that is basically it. So I am going to finish this off doing my top layer. Let me know if you have any questions about that, and I will be happy to help you out with that. But it's exactly the same as the bottom, just without adding all the extra stuff on, okay? All right, I'll see you in a minute. Hi everyone, I am back and I have finished my little pot, and this one is so much sturdier than this one. This one's been mangled so much, but yeah, I did an extra round around the top and that really helped make it solid. And you can also do that at the bottom as well. And I also ran around this base again just to help get that a little more solid as well. So if it's feeling floppy, just reinforce, okay? And it'll, I mean, it's always going to have a slight movement to it because it is beadwork. But anyway, so there it is. There is my little votive holder, little candle holder, and I absolutely love this. And I mean, I'm gonna have to, I wish I had more time. I would make more in different colors and play around like you guys do, but sadly I don't have that much time. But anyway, make sure that you do post your makes in our Facebook group if you're on Facebook, because we love to see everybody's different colors. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please spread the word as well. You know, you're always welcome to post what you've made here in other groups, and that helps people learn about me, you know. So if you're a member of another group, just follow the rules, you know, don't say things you're not allowed to say, but you know, people then might ask, hey, where did that come from? And then you can tell them. So anyway, okay, you guys, have a wonderful holiday. I hope you have enjoyed this bead along, and we will have a few more videos this month, and then next year I'm kind of trying to figure out what I'm gonna do next year. I'm probably gonna do a live in the Facebook group to talk to you guys about that, what you want, what you don't want for the new year, because I kind of want to get some of your feedback. So okay, take care, bye.